Why do you think most filmmakers fail in the entrepreneurial mindset?
They don't think about business. You know, it's a matter of like, I don't think enough filmmakers come from a business background, or I'm not saying that they should come from business backgrounds, but they should know about business, or at least have one or two people on their team that are business people. It's crucial, you know. My wife's a hell of a businesswoman, and she keeps me in check as well. And so you need those sorts of things. But I think that not enough filmmakers look at it, again, like it goes back to the lottery system. Like people think they're gonna be Tarantino, they're gonna think they're gonna be, Scorsese. Scorsese put his time in. Scorsese worked his butt off, and everything else. And I, give him mad props, because he's constantly making new material. He's constantly changing. Just like a musician would, he has like these different sorts of styles that he's played with and everything else. But I just think that filmmakers need to think about the long game and not the short game. That they have to realize that that it's going to take work. It's going to take a lot of work. And that's the thing. It's like if you're not willing to put in the work, then you might want to choose a different path.
Well, you've been working on Billboard now for
10 years full time.
So what month in 2009, do you remember that you started?
I announced in October.
Oh, okay.
Of 2009.
When you first started, when you announced in October 2009, did you think it would take you this long?
No.
What time frame did you think?
I thought it was going to take me probably 4 years. And how I created this whole thing was, I had this idea for the film, and I was working on a script, and it's completely different than what it is now. And realizing what happened to In Search Of, I unraveled a roll of craft paper, had a black Sharpie in my hand, and mapped out the entire Billboard project. I still have that piece of craft paper. And it's pretty fascinating because how I wanted to create like the website for the radio station, and like how bands are going to submit their music, and like how we're going to aggregate their social media to build their profiles, and how the playlist was going to be formulated, and all these sorts of things. And then dealing with the web series and how I was going to shoot that versus the film. And the only thing that we did additional to that original ideation session was the interactive play. That was born out of us doing a test of something, and I'm like, oh my God, I can stage this. And so we did. But I thought that it was going to take me about 4 years, but I didn't realize that I'd have to educate as many people as I did about Transmedia. And it was just hard to raise money, really hard to raise money. And so the only thing, two things, you could throw money at a problem if you have a lot of it, and not take your time and collapse the window, or you could take a lot of time if you don't have the money and make it happen. So I obviously opted for the latter, but it's just a matter of just seeing it through. And also too is like, I'm glad because, we shot the film over the course of 9 months because I wanted seasons to change. And we were shooting the film, it was during the presidential elections. And we're doing this, it was supposed to be a comedy. And when we got into post-production, it just was too heavy. It just felt fat. I don't know how else to explain it. Just felt uncomfortable. And so we kept paring it back. And then I'm realizing, okay, I gotta change this thing. And so 40% of the film was shot with 3 people. Myself, Reed Baum, who was my editor and also camera, and then Ryan Walsh, who is a producer, but then also ran sound. And so we literally shot 40% of the films, the 3 of us. But I'm glad that it took us time because it let us experiment with some things and figure some stuff out. And we got some great shots. We got the winter stuff and everything else because of it.
The first year you began, let's say October 2009 to October 2010, what were you focusing on? And
building the radio station.
And you're in a recession too, weren't we?
Yeah. So again, going back to the whole coding side of it, was a matter of we created WTYT 960 from scratch. And so I knew what I wanted to do and how, but I needed somebody who knew how to do it. I never met her in person. But I have a programmer out of Chicago that works with me still. She's still working with me. She's been working with me from the very beginning of this thing. And we had one programmer in Australia and another one in the Czech Republic, because I didn't want to have one person have my IP. And so, and she cobbled this thing together, but it's very complex. Like programmers that see it, and then they realize like what we did, they're like, wow, okay, this is like a complete build. And we did. And so we and the interesting thing is like over the course of time, when the social media outlets changed their APIs, we had to do a whole new build. So time kind of screwed us with that though too, is because it would have been a little bit easier if we would have done it in a collapsed amount of time.
What, I'm sorry, why would you not want one person to have your IP?
Because they could steal it.
So having
I was doing it for something completely proprietary. That's the thing. It's like so we have stuff on the back end. We built stuff. We built new things, new widgets for WordPress, and so forth. So it's a matter of like I did not want people to have it, quite frankly. So that's kind of like why I had a team of people that worked on it.
So you had them working on different parts, so they wouldn't have a whole...
and then Chris brought them together.
Ah, okay, right.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't like, next thing you know, you don't hear from them again,
right.
And now someone's doing the same thing.
Right.
Gotcha, wow, that's smart, okay.
Yeah.
And where did you, who advised you on that?
I just did it.
You just did it, you just knew like...
Well, I just knew, like, again, knowing the law side of things and realizing that if one person had my IP, the possibility of theft was a lot greater. And so that's why. Straight up. I mean, it just is, and so we spent a lot of time developing that, and then I also created other ways for other people to get involved with the project too. But it's always been like this kind of. That's why tech is so heavy in what I'm doing. You can't producing in the transmedia world. You can't have the absence of technology. Technology, everything rides on the backbone of technology.
So you made new widgets for
Chris
WordPress?
did, yeah.
And are these now used for, and anybody can insert them into their site?
No. So it's open source, but Chris has.
I see. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of the 10 years?
Raising money. We never were capitalized. We still aren't, honestly. And so like we've just been, scrappy. We've been bootstrapping the entire time using, a startup mentality, and honestly, like if we had, more capital, things would have been a lot different, and quite honestly, probably make more money. But it's just a matter of the nature of the beast and how I wanted to do this, because I believe in myself. My family believes in what I'm doing too, and so we're willing to take those risks. But that's probably the hardest thing, was definitely the lack of funding. And I know every filmmaker has that, without a doubt. And we produced a big project. That's the thing. It's pretty enormous what we've done. Like we built a freaking billboard on the side of a major highway. Like enough lumber to build a small house. And so you have to raise all the gear up and everything else. And like just from a production standpoint, it was a huge undertaking.